12. This is also one of the important, very important question with the point of view of lengthy answers. So our question is, what is oogenesis? Okay, and give a brief account of oogenesis. So as we looked further in spermatogenesis, oogenesis, split the word down. O means an egg and genesis is formation. So students, what is oogenesis? Oogenesis is formation of a mature egg is known as oogenesis. So the process of formation of mature female gamete is what? An egg, is known as oogenesis. Now, oogenesis is initiated during the embryonic development. So right from within, with a couple of million cells, million gamete mother cells, that is known as oogonia, formed within each fetal ovary. No more oogonia are formed and added after birth. So a female child is born with a million eggs inside. They are premature, and now after birth no egg is formed. Again, let's read this again. Oogenesis is initiated during embryonic development stage, where a couple of million cells or million gamete mother cells or oogonia are formed within each fetal ovary. No more oogonia are formed and added after birth. Now, these cells, oogonia, starts division, enters into prophase 1. Prophase 1 is what? It is meiotic division. So it is reduction division and gets temporarily arrested at a stage called primary oocyte. So they get a rest in what? The stage called primary oocyte. Now, each primary oocyte then gets surrounded by a layer of granulosa cells called the primary follicle. Students, you're supposed to remember what? It enters prophase 1. Then it gets temporarily arrested at the stage called primary oocyte. Now this primary oocyte is then surrounded by a granulosa cells known as primary follicle. Okay students? And a large number of these follicles degenerate. And this phase forms from birth to puberty. And when puberty hits, a female or a female child starts getting her menstruation, or that is when their eggs are matured. Going further, therefore, at puberty only 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles are left in each ovary. Now, the primary follicles get surrounded by more layers of granulosa cells and a new theca. Theca means layer, are called secondary follicles. Now these secondary follicles don't transform. What happens? These secondary follicles transform into tertiary follicles. So secondary follicles transform into tertiary follicles, which is characterized by a fluid cavity field in the antrum. And lastly, theca layer is organized into inner theca or the theca interna and the outer theca known as externa. It is important to draw your attention that at this stage, remember students, at this stage, primary oocyte within the tertiary follicle grows in size and completes its first meiotic division. What happens? It completes its first meiotic division. Now, it is an unequal division. Remember, the difference between spermatogenesis and oogenesis is, in spermatogenesis, all divisions are equal, whereas in oogenesis they are not equal. This is very, very important. Make a side note of it. Okay, students? Clear? Going ahead. What? It is an unequal division resulting in the formation of a large haploid cell. This is a large haploid secondary oocyte and a tiny first polar body. As it is unequal, there would be one large secondary oocyte and one small polar body. Now, secondary oocytes retains bulk of nutrient-rich cytoplasm of the primary oocyte. The tertiary follicle further changes into mature follicle known as Graafian follicle. Now, the secondary oocyte forms a new membrane called zona pellucida surrounding it. And lastly, the Graafian follicle now ruptures to release the secondary oocyte or the ovum from the ovary by the process called ovulation, and secondary oocyte forms a new membrane called zona pellucida surrounding it. The Graafian follicle, ovulation. That is done. Now let's have a diagrammatic look. So initially this will have 2n and lastly this will be n. So let's look at the division. First division forms 2 cells, mitotic division. 2 cells will form 4 cells. This is clear? Yes. So this occurs in what? Fetal life. Now, this one cell will get into prophase 1, meiosis 1. Okay, so first mitotic division and it will get arrested in prophase 1. Now this prophase 1 at puberty will go into secondary follicle and first polar body. And lastly, this secondary follicle will form an ovum and second polar body. So this here is N. And this will be our mitosis 2. Okay, students? So this is our first polar body and this is our second polar body. Okay, this occurs in adult life. Okay, at this age, there would be 23 chromosomes, and again this would be 23 chromosomes, therefore N, and this is haploid in nature. Okay, students, are we clear? So this is the process of oogenesis.